everyone, I wanted to make a little video about brushes and tutorials and stuff like that. I read a blog post a while back that some guy who was blaming a website called Video Copilot for basically making design worse, motion graphics worse. Video Copilot is a very successful tutorial site for Adobe After Effects. Now, the problem is that the tutorials are so good and so many people are using them that actually even professionals start using them and everything looks the same because everyone is just using the things they learned at that website. So suddenly all of the motion graphics start looking exactly the same. Not that it necessarily has anything to do with Video Copilot, but you can also see this trend in kinetic typography. Type that into YouTube. God, all of it looks exactly the same. It's horrible. Anyway. And there is some point in that. Now the guy was wrong in that he said that it's basically the website's fault. The guys that run Video Copilot, it was their fault that design got worse, and it's obviously not their fault that they're teaching people how to do various effects and looks in After Effects, and then people only use them. That's not their fault, but it is obviously, I agree, it is a bit of a problem. And it's the same thing with Photoshop tutorials, that you see a lot of people doing the same kind of thing. Right now, especially one site which you can really see influenced a lot of people is the site called psd.tutsplus, which has a very specific visual style with lights and colors. And after that site really went mainstream, especially about a year ago, God, everything looked exactly the same. When you went to Flickr, all the different groups that I'm a part of, that I looked through, all of it, well, not literally all of it, but so much of it looked exactly the same. And a lot of the times I could even spot like, oh, that's that tutorial, or oh, that's that tutorial. And that's not just up to Cedo with the tutorials, but it's the same thing happening there. And then there's also the part with brushes, which I feel has a bit of the same problem. Because brushes are really easy to use, they're a great invention. The problem is that once people put up really great, usually free brushes, a lot of people download them and a lot of people use them, and you start seeing them in everything. Especially flowery brushes are very, very popular. And I agree, they can look great, but it's bad when you see people using the same things again and again and again, and not even getting into the point of talking about, well, if the brushes that you use are not made by you, but they're such a huge part of what you're doing, of the picture you're making, that if you use different brushes, what you're making wouldn't really hold together, it wouldn't really be good anymore. How much of your picture did you really make? You just basically put together things that other people made. Are you really an artist here? Are you really doing anything? Or are you just mashing together pictures that other people have made? Nonetheless, I don't think it's right to say that you can blame tutorial websites, or brushes for that matter. Tutorial websites are basically like having a teacher telling you this is how you do a specific thing. And I've used it. I've used tutorials myself and I think they're a great learning tool. But the problem is a lot of people don't expand on them, and they take that one tutorial and then just go with it. Usually when I look at tutorials, I look at them and say, okay, I want, how did he or she make this specific thing? How did this specific effect, how was this specific effect achieved? And I'm thinking, well, this specific effect, I could use that with these things that I'm doing. But a lot of people basically just copy the entire tutorial on a different picture, and it all starts looking the same. People don't think, how can they use these techniques in their own things? They just basically look at the tutorial as an entire project and copy that entire project. And that certainly starts, degrading design as you see it around. But it's not exactly like tutorials are a new thing, as I said. It's basically like having a teacher. I think the reason it's kind of becoming a problem now is that they're so easy to get and there's so many of them. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons on the internet, tutorial websites with tons and tons and tons of tutorials. And all you gotta do is go on Google or any search engine and just type Photoshop tutorial and you get everything. And usually I think if this was theoretically only, let's say only design students that did that, I don't actually think it would be a problem, because that's people that are, or professionals for that matter, people that already know how to do these things and they're interested in the whole thing. But when people that are perhaps less creatively gifted or less interested in the whole thing do it, they don't actually use them as tutorials should be used. Tutorials should just be a learning tool, but they use them as a guide through the entire thing that they're doing, and as I said, it's just copies. And it certainly kind of degrades the artistic spectrum of design when you start looking around and everything looks the same. And especially with Video Copilot, it's so easy to notice. Pretty much every intro I've seen on YouTube lately by slightly smaller channels that have, I'm making a very cool intro here. It's basically an exact copy of a tutorial on Video Copilot where they just put their own name in the tutorial instead of saying Video Copilot says random channel, you know? And do I think it's a huge problem? No, but I do think it could be part of degrading what's out there. And another problem is obviously that a lot of people won't notice the difference if you're not really following the design world around and seeing what's going on. You wouldn't know that this, whatever you're looking at, is an exact copy of a tutorial that people didn't actually make, and yet they just copied someone else. And that also degrades design as a whole, because it makes an unqualified thing that anyone can do, that you don't really need to be good at to do. And it kind of screws the rest of us over that are actually serious about this and actually take time to do our own original thing. And you could say, well, you know, you'll go through in the end and people will want original things at the end, but as I said, not everyone will know what's original because they don't actually follow the design world around. They don't know what's going on there. So they won't know that I'm doing something original, or that X other person is just copying a tutorial on psd.tuts or whatever it's called. psd.tutsplus? Anyway, another Photoshop website. And so yeah, it is kind of a problem. But I think the main problem is that the tutorials and brushes and things like that, presets, all those are not a problem in and of themselves. It's the people that use them that are making it a problem, because they don't realize that they should expand on what they're learning. Expand on the brushes, use them in a creative way, use the tutorials in a creative way. They just copy. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. So please, next time you're reading a tutorial, next time you're downloading brushes, try to think, these brushes, are they really completely 100% essential to this picture? And if they are, should you really be doing it? Like, shouldn't you do something that you actually make? Next time you're reading a tutorial, don't think, you know, I'll just copy this entire thing. Think of it as a learning experience that you can use in your own projects, in your own creativity. Do your own thing. Don't just copy from someone else. That's what I think about it. I'll see you guys next time.